Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something that affects literally almost every single one of us, our daily work routine. But hey, we're not just talking about time management hacks today. We are talking about biology. We're going to explore a science-backed protocol for peak performance, pulling from the absolute latest research on how to literally upgrade your physical and mental baseline. 90,000. Let that sink in for a second. That's the average number of hours we spend at work over our entire lifetime. It is a massive, defining chunk of our existence on this planet. And the harsh reality? We simply cannot afford to spend those 90,000 hours feeling physically drained, mentally foggy, and just running on fumes. So that brings us to a buzzword you've probably heard thrown around a ton lately: biohacking. Now, let's demystify this real quick. You can toss out those crazy images of tech implants or extreme, unlivable diets. In a corporate or everyday workday context, biohacking is really just about making targeted, practical, science-backed lifestyle changes to optimize your body and mind. It's a fundamental shift away from that toxic hustle culture, the one that just tells you to work harder until you literally burn out, and a move toward pure biological efficiency for your 8 to 5 workday. Section 1. The ultimate morning protocol. Okay, so to understand how to actually wake up properly, we first have to understand this absolutely crucial molecule: adenosine. Think of it like this. Adenosine builds up in your brain all day long while you're awake, effectively creating this sleep pressure that makes you tired. And the only way it gets fully cleared out is through high-quality sleep. So if you wake up feeling super groggy and heavy, that means this sleep-inducing molecule is still lingering in your system. It's essentially acting as a flashing dashboard warning light for fatigue. And that biological reality leads us straight to the Huberman morning protocol. Now, I know our natural instinct is to reach for a cup of coffee the absolute second our eyes open, right? But step 3 of this protocol throws a total curveball. Wait 90 to 120 minutes. Why on earth would we do that? Well, because caffeine doesn't actually clear adenosine out of your brain, it just temporarily blocks your receptors from feeling it. If you wait just an hour and a half, you allow your body's natural waking systems to clear out that residual morning adenosine. Then, when you finally do have that coffee, it acts as a powerful cognitive booster, rather than a crutch that just sets you up for a massive afternoon crash. But hey, before you even get to that coffee, early morning movement is absolutely key. It perfectly aligns with your body's biological clock. By working out early, you're actually leveraging your natural morning cortisol peak for energy. It sparks the production of BDNF, which, by the way, acts like Miracle-Gro for your brain's neural connections, and it elevates those dopamine levels while anchoring your circadian rhythm so you sleep way better that night. You're basically priming your entire nervous system for the day ahead. Moving right along, Section 2, the active workspace. Now let's look at the office itself. This introduces a pretty fascinating concept called NEAT, or non-exercise activity thermogenesis. It sounds super complex, but it's really just the energy we burn doing everyday normal movements that aren't formal workouts. The huge problem we face today is the modern sitting disease. When we sit frozen at a desk like statues for 8 hours straight, our NEAT drops to near zero. Our metabolic health completely stalls, insulin sensitivity takes a massive hit, and honestly, that is a huge biological contributor to that infamous 3 p.m. I need a nap under my desk right now energy crash we all know way too well. Now, a lot of people try to fix this sitting problem with cheap walking pads. But here's the catch. Budget pads usually have narrow belts, really whiny motors, and often burn out in under a year. Plus, no one wants to hear a cheap treadmill motor whining in the background of a Zoom call, right? Contrast that with a professional treadmill desk, like the Unsit. It's commercial grade, whisper quiet, and designed to literally last for years. Walking at a slow, maybe 1.5 mile per hour pace doesn't distract you at all. Instead, it actually stabilizes your blood sugar and continuously feeds your brain that BDNF we talked about earlier, giving you a massive cognitive advantage over time. It's a real investment in your long-term physical and mental output. But, sitting isn't the only occupational hazard at our desks. Digital eye strain is literally destroying our focus. But how we fix it really matters. Software filters, they just lower the blue channel, basically turning your entire screen yellow and completely destroying color accuracy. But hardware solutions, like the ones engineered into medical-grade diagnostic monitors by companies like Reshin, actually shift the LED backlight spectrum right at the source. This protects your eyes from strain without totally distorting the colors on your screen, which is absolutely crucial for keeping you sharp and focused for hours on end. Section 3, Sound Engineering for Deep Focus. If you've ever needed to study or write a huge report, you've probably searched YouTube for focus music and found millions of videos promising laser focus. So we really have to ask the critical question here. Are binaural beats actual magic, or are they just a placebo illusion? Let's dive into what the peer-reviewed neuroscience actually tells us. So, our brains operate at different electrical frequencies depending on exactly what we're doing. As you can see, delta waves map to deep sleep. Theta is for deep relaxation. Alpha is that calm, alert state that's just perfect for learning. Beta is for active focus and analytical thinking. And gamma, that's for high-level, complex processing. The basic scientific hypothesis here is that if you play a rhythmic audio track at a very specific frequency, you can actually coax your brain to synchronize with that exact mental state. Think of it this way. In auditory science, you have a sledgehammer and you have a scalpel. Raw binaural beats, they are the sledgehammer. They rely on an auditory illusion, basically playing a slightly different tone in each ear so your brain has to guess the difference. Honestly, it creates a pretty weak biological synchronization. But neural phase locking, which is patented by companies like Brain FM, is the scalpel. This tech embeds rhythmic modulations directly into the audio's amplitude. It's a direct physiological mechanism that the brain processes instantly, creating a vastly stronger neural synchronization. It's literally actively pulling your brain into a state of deep, deep focus. And that brings us to Section 4, Mastering Executive Recovery. Now, to recover properly, we absolutely have to respect the biology of what we consume. Just consider the shocking timeline of caffeine. For most of us, it has a quarter life of 12 hours. Let that sink in. If you consume 200 milligrams of caffeine at 8 a.m., by 8 p.m. that night, 50 milligrams are still active in your nervous system. So yeah, that late afternoon coffee might give you a temporary lift, but it is actively blocking your brain's ability to clear that sleep-inducing adenosine we talked about earlier. It's absolutely wrecking your sleep architecture for the night. And this is exactly why the final steps of our daily biohacking protocol are so critical. The executive wind-down protocol demands that you cap your caffeine by the early afternoon. Next, you've got to manage your light exposure. Dim your screens and your physical environment to clearly signal to your circadian clock that night is falling. Finally, engage in low-effort recovery, like reading or stretching. By doing this, you are fiercely protecting your slow-wave deep sleep, which is exactly what sets the stage for a fully optimized biological baseline the very next morning. So the crucial point we're driving at here is this. Why do we go through all of this? Because System 2 thinking, that deliberate, analytical, complex problem solving you need to really excel at your job, requires massive amounts of biochemical fuel. Optimizing your workspace, your light, your sound, and your recovery isn't just about physical health. It literally shifts your brain's default state. It pulls you right out of that reactive, emotional survival mode and elevates you into a deliberate, sustainable, and super high-performance state. I want to leave you with this incredible thought from Plutarch, which is heavily referenced by executive consultant Wesley Patterson. The mind is not a vessel to be filled, but a fire to be kindled. You now have the scientific tools to optimize your biology, your workspace, and your recovery. The only question left is, how do you plan to ignite your own biological advantage tomorrow? Start small, apply the science, and just see how it completely transforms your workday. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I will catch you next time.
If you want to analyze medical questions yourself in seconds, using evidence-based medicine principles, the link to the service is below the video.